Let me ask you something raw and uncomfortable. When you look in the mirror, do you see the person who's hurt you the most? Because sometimes the cruelest voice you'll ever hear isn't from out there, it's the one that whispers in your own head. And the battle you're losing, it's not against the world, it's you versus you. I remember standing backstage before one of the biggest talks of my life. The room was full, thousands of people waiting, the kind of audience I once dreamed of speaking to. The lights were blinding, the air thick with anticipation, and just as I was about to step forward, I heard it. That voice. You know the one. The one that sounds so much like you that you almost believe it is you. Who do you think you are? It hissed. You're going to mess this up. They're going to see right through you. They'll know you don't belong here. In that moment, it wasn't the crowd that scared me. It wasn't the pressure of the event or the fear of forgetting my words. What terrified me was the realization that the person I was most afraid of disappointing, the person I was most afraid of failing in front of, was me. And here's what's even harder to admit. That voice wasn't new. It had been with me for as long as I could remember. It had echoed through my childhood when I tried to fit in. It had followed me into adulthood when I tried to be the perfect parent, the perfect partner, the perfect leader. It was the voice that kept moving the finish line. I think if we're honest, many of us know that voice intimately. It's the voice that tells you your best isn't good enough. That no matter how much you achieve, no matter how kind you are, no matter how hard you try, there's still something lacking. And here's where it gets even messier. That inner critic often starts out as something that feels like protection. Maybe when you were younger, you learned that if you criticized yourself first, it wouldn't sting as much if someone else did. Maybe you thought if you were hard enough on yourself, you could stay ahead of failure, stay ahead of pain. But over time, that self-criticism stops being a shield and starts becoming a weapon you turn against yourself. Psychologists call this self-directed hostility, the tendency to turn our fear, our frustration, our shame inward, believing that if we can just be tougher on ourselves, we can finally be worthy. But the hard truth is, beating yourself up never makes you stronger. It just leaves bruises you can't see. We think the fight is out there, with the world, with expectations, with other people's judgments. But really, because the person you most need on your side, the person you most need to befriend, is the one staring back at you in the mirror. Picture this. You're sitting at a dinner table, surrounded by people. Maybe it's family, maybe friends, maybe colleagues. There's laughter, there's chatter, the clinking of glasses, the kind of noise that fills a room and drowns out the silence. You smile. You nod at the right moments. You even throw in a joke or two. On the outside, it looks like you're fine, like you belong in that space, like you're present. But inside there's a storm no one can see. Inside, you're fighting tooth and nail to hold yourself together. Inside, you're trying not to blurt out how tired you are. Tired of pretending, tired of measuring your words, tired of feeling like you have to shrink just to fit into rooms that were never built for your whole self. It's one of the loneliest fights we can have, the fight against our own silence. The fight to keep the parts of ourselves that ache, that long, that want to be seen, hidden. Because somewhere along the line, we were taught that vulnerability makes people uncomfortable. That if you let them see what's really going on, they'll pull away, they'll judge, they'll leave. And so we armor up. We master the art of surface-level conversation. We become experts at I'm fine. We play the role. And the longer we play it, the harder it becomes to remember what our own truth sounds like. What makes this so painful is that it's invisible. No one claps for the victories you win in this fight. No one sees the strength it takes just to show up. No one knows how hard it is to sit at that table, smile, and stay, when what you really want is to run. From a psychological lens, this is what shame does. It isolates. Shame tells us we're the only ones, that everyone else has it figured out, that if people saw our cracks, they'd leave. So we stay silent, thinking it's safer. But what it really does, it deepens the loneliness, it keeps us trapped. And here's the hardest truth I've had to learn, and maybe you need to hear it too. The silent fight doesn't end when you finally say the perfect thing, or when you're strong enough to never feel pain again. It ends when you let yourself be seen in your struggle. When you whisper, even just to yourself, "I'm not okay right now." Because connection, the thing we're so desperate for, only happens when we stop hiding. And the first person you have to stop hiding from is you. The bravest thing you might do today isn't speaking up at that table. It's sitting quietly with yourself and saying, "I'm here, I see you, I'm listening." I'll never forget the night I stayed up until 3 a.m., hunched over my laptop, obsessing over the tiniest details of a slide deck for a talk I was giving the next morning. I kept tweaking the colors, the fonts, the alignment, things no one in that room would have noticed. My eyes burned, my body begged for rest, but I convinced myself, just a little more. It has to be perfect. What was I really trying to fix that night? It wasn't the slides. It was the aching, hollow fear that if I wasn't perfect, I wouldn't be enough. That's the heartbreaking betrayal of perfection. It starts out as something that feels like protection. We think, if I can just do everything right, if I can just be flawless, I'll finally feel safe. I'll finally feel worthy. If I can just do everything right, if I can just be flawless, I'll finally feel worthy. But perfection doesn't protect us, it cages us. It convinces us to keep chasing an illusion while stealing our joy, our peace, and our connection. If you've ever worked yourself to the bone, if you've ever obsessed over getting something just right because you thought your worth depended on it, then you know this pain. Perfection tells you, just a little more effort, just a little better performance, and you'll finally feel good enough. But the goalposts keep moving. No matter how hard you try, it whispers, "Not quite, you can do better." And here's what's cruel about it. Perfectionism masquerades as virtue. We praise it, we reward it. Society tells us it's the mark of high standards, of excellence. But underneath, it's driven by fear. The fear of being seen as flawed, the fear of rejection, the fear that if people really knew you, the real, messy, imperfect you, they'd turn away. Psychologists know this well. Research shows perfectionism isn't the pursuit of excellence, it's the pursuit of approval. And it comes at a heavy cost: anxiety, burnout, isolation, and a constant sense of falling short. I want to tell you something that took me too long to believe. You don't have to be perfect to be worthy. You don't have to earn your place at the table. Worthiness isn't a prize you win when you've finally fixed all your flaws. It's your birthright. And the only way to end the betrayal of perfection, to lay down the armor, to let yourself be seen, not as someone who has it all together, but as someone who's trying, who's human, who's real. Because the most beautiful, most liberating truth is this: the cracks in you, the ones perfection tries to hide, are where your light shines through. I want you to think about a moment when you felt that lump rise in your throat. The kind of fear that makes your chest tighten, that keeps you frozen. Maybe it was when you wanted to speak up in a meeting and your heart started racing. Maybe it was when you wanted to say, "I love you" first, or ask for help, or set a boundary that you knew would upset someone. And just before the words reached your lips, fear whispered, "Don't. Stay quiet. It's safer." So what do you do next? What do you do and do next to still the fear? That's how fear works. It doesn't storm in loudly. It moves like a shadow, quiet, steady, always there. At first, it tells you it's on your side. "I'm protecting you," it says. "I'm keeping you from getting hurt. I'm keeping you from failing. I'm keeping you from embarrassment." And because we believe it, we listen. We play small. We silence our truth. We avoid the risk. We shrink, not because we aren't capable, but because fear convinces us that the price of stepping forward is too high. I've lived this more times than I can count. I've stayed silent in rooms where I had something important to say. I've said yes when I wanted to say no because I was terrified of disappointing people. I've turned down opportunities because fear told me I wasn't ready. And what I've learned the hard way is that every time I let fear make the decision, it didn't actually protect me. It robbed me of growth, of connection, of moments that could have changed everything. There's a term in psychology called avoidance reinforcement. Every time you let fear guide you, every time you avoid the thing that scares you, you teach your brain that fear was right, that the danger was real, that you can't handle it. And so fear grows stronger, the shadow stretches longer. But here's the truth that fear doesn't want you to know. You are stronger than what you're afraid of. You don't have to wait to feel fearless to act. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear, hearing its voice, watching its shadow, and choosing to step forward anyway. And let me say this, because maybe no one else has. You don't have to take giant leaps to be brave. Sometimes, courage looks like the small, quiet decision to show up one more time. To try again, to let yourself be seen, even when you're trembling. Fear will always be there. It's human. It's part of you. But it doesn't get to be the driver of your life. You do. The moment you stop letting fear write your story, that's the moment you start living. There comes a day, and maybe for you that day is today, when you wake up and something feels different. It's not loud, it's not dramatic. There's no grand epiphany, no music swelling in the background. It's quieter than that. It's a soft, tired voice inside that says, "I can't keep fighting myself anymore." You realize you've spent so much of your life trying to outrun your own reflection, trying to earn your worth, trying to prove you're good enough, smart enough, strong enough, lovable enough, trying to be what they wanted, what they needed, what you thought would finally make you feel whole. But it never worked, did it? No matter how much you accomplished, no matter how kind you were, no matter how hard you tried. The critic inside always found something to pick apart. The perfectionism always moved the bar higher. The fear always whispered, "Not yet, you're not ready, you're not enough." And then, in that quiet moment, you see the truth. The fight you've been in all this time wasn't you versus the world. It was you versus you. And the person you've been hardest on, the person you've abandoned, doubted, and pushed aside was the one person who's never left your side, yourself. That's when something shifts. You realize that winning this battle doesn't look like being tougher or working harder or hustling for approval. Winning looks like laying down your weapons. It looks like sitting beside yourself, messy and imperfect, and saying, "I'm here, I'm staying, I choose you." And let me tell you, that is the most courageous choice you'll ever make. Because choosing you means choosing to stop running. It means facing the parts of you you've tried to hide, the parts that are scared, that are grieving, that are angry, that are longing to be held. Choosing you means you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, validate you, or love you enough to make you feel whole. You decide to be the one who loves you first. And from that place, everything changes. It doesn't mean life suddenly gets easy. It means you stop abandoning yourself when it gets hard. It means when fear shows up, you don't shrink. You stay. When shame tries to take the wheel, you remind yourself, I am enough. I am already worthy. I don't need to earn it. And maybe the most beautiful part is this: the war quiets, the noise softens, and in that stillness, you find something you've been searching for all along: peace. So if today is that day for you, let it be the beginning, not of a new fight, but of a new kind of love. The kind that starts within, the kind that whispers, you are not your wounds, you are not your failures, you are not your fear, you are worthy exactly as you are. That's the day you choose you, and that's the day everything begins to heal. You are not the voice in your head, you are the one who hears it and chooses what to believe. So today, choose you.